Welcome back, guys. Today's video, I just did a recording of a project here that hopefully you guys will see a little bit more of in about March. And what this is for those of you that were that joined me in a live stream, I talk about this. It's a role-playing book dealing with superheroes, kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, but for superheroes. And they commissioned me to do a bunch of artwork for the inside of the book, and it'll be a Kickstarter campaign, all sorts of cool stuff. I'll promote the hell out of it. Just so you guys, for those of you that are actually interested in that kind of stuff, I'll show you that. But art-wise, what you're looking at here is a grid, 3x3, or as some people in cinematography or photography call the rule of thirds. And what that is as you can see this tic-tac-toe shape, whenever the horizontal or vertical lines meet up, that's ideally where you would put the focus point. And in this case, it's this big, massive guy here, and it's usually an eye is where the focus point should be. Like if it's a face, or if it's a face especially, then the eye is what most people look at first on a face. Maybe it's a fist, something like that. But this guy, it is a double page spread. I got a lot to tell you in this video here, but it's a double page spread, and these guys here are some of the big villains, and they're attacking a group of heroes with a portal opening up behind the bad guys, bring all the minions out to attack, all the other good guys. And the big guy in the foreground here is punching a hero, while a whole bunch of minions are attacking two other heroes. The person flying, shooting a blast, and this forearm guy as well. And behind the big guy is going to be a guy on some rubble and some destroyed city stuff, kind of like projecting evil and kind of stuff like that. You'll see as we go as I tighten it up. But pertaining to exactly what's going on here with the focus, as you can see, ideally what I'm trying to do with this is no matter what's in this image, you always want to bring, or I'm trying to always bring the focus back to the guy right in the foreground, especially his eye. And, even things like his entire forearm is still leading towards his eye. This lady's hand that he's punching, her fingers are kind of curled back towards that point. You've got the character up on the top left there, once we flip the image back, but the person at the top left, that hero shooting a blast, that diagonal is still going to his eye. The person's going to be getting hit, pointing towards his eye. You'll see a lot of it is pointing towards it. And the whole reason for this is it makes a very good composition. It gives the whole, gives the piece or the art, whatever you like to call your work, piece. I hear some people, they don't like to call their art pieces and stuff, kind of like in a gallery. But whatever the hell you're working on, you want it to focus on something. Unless the focus is chaos, then you could just do like a Where's Waldo kind of image where there's just people splattered everywhere. But for the case of this kind of stuff, I would prefer it to be clear. Even though it's chaotic, I would like some clarity to what's going on. And the initial thumbnail I had for this is fine. It's very similar to that. If I have time in the post-production here, I'll throw it in there. The initial thumbnail that I had. But I was thinking along these lines for this kind of thing, but the rule of thirds that I've applied afterwards has radically changed not only just this image, but how I'm going about working with comic pages in general and just illustrations. And in illustrations, you might hear of things like always trying to be in a rectangle or a triangle or a circle. There's like some harmony to the piece. And that's what I'm trying to bring to this stuff. And not just this, but in a comic page in general, plus the panels inside it. Giving clarity, absolutely, focusing as much on the story as possible. And I think you guys are going to notice, especially on the channel and hopefully in my art, the more videos that I'm posting, especially over the next few months, perhaps the rest of this year, that's one area that I'm trying my hardest to focus on, is not necessarily trying to get a cooler style anymore or trying to get better anatomy. Those are things that I think the more I draw and focus on just improving in general, those kinds of things will improve. But clarity of story and just clarity in general is something that I am trying to really push over the next few months, like I said, to the next year. And I was under the impression before that just drawing and making cool drawings is awesome. You know, like rendering the hell out of somebody's forearm, explosions and stuff. Like it's all cool. And I've talked about framing, and I've heard of framing before. You know, like let's say somebody's walking past a window, having their head in the frame of the window is literally framing. But taking it to the next level and really pushing myself, if I can, to explore these things, to show framing, to show pacing through this sort of stuff here, where it's have a focal point and go. Now, one thing I should note, that when you do stuff like this, it's not like you're locking down a perspective. Like, just say his eye was, or it is the focal point of this image. But if I started putting just a 1-point perspective, which is vanishing points going to that eye, that's great, you know, it brings a focus there, but you can still use this stuff with like 3-point perspective and things. But like you see right here, like that building in the background, it'll be all destroyed and stuff, but it's still tilting towards the focal point. And these are areas that I really want to push on, and hopefully we can get somewhere cool with it. It's just I'll include the link again in here, and I talked about this in the live stream pre-recorded video that I posted last week. And again, I'll post it in the link where I first came across this, where it was somebody going through the movie The Incredibles, and they were just talking about how well shot that movie was compositionally, lighting, all that stuff. And I found a blog that was going over that, and just seeing this sort of stuff. Do you guys ever feel like you'll hear something, or you know something, like anatomy, let's say, like how to attach the ribs to the pelvis, and you've studied it, and normally you can get it, but all of a sudden you read like a tutorial, or you hear somebody talk, or you see somebody draw, and you see the way they do it, and you're like, of course, that's it, that's the missing secret sauce that I haven't been, for some reason, just couldn't put together. You just need to experience it through something else in order for you to rationalize it. Maybe. I'm just trying to think of the right word that I could use for that. But that's what this kind of framing and stuff is bringing up to me. Like, I know about this stuff, but I don't think I've ever actually sat down and really tried to hurt my brain and make it as awesome as I can. And that's one thing that I've always struggled with, and I've heard critiques on my own stuff when I tried to go to conventions and show Marvel, DC. If I ever sat down with the editors, I had 2 opportunities to sit down with 2 Marvel editors over the years, and that was one of the things that was always there in the beginning. You know, they would say the generic things like tighten up your anatomy and, you know, tighten up your figure work, hands, feet, all the good stuff, but clarity was one of the things. And I'm not I'm not an artist that renders the hell out of things, but I do think my style lends to a more heavier rendered style. And I'm not sure if I totally want to not just give up on that, but I know I want to tone it back a bit in hopes of clearing up my art. And hopefully, you know, all of this stuff is going to lead me down that magical road. But addressing what's going on right now. So right here, I like to do this a lot, especially when you've got like these really complicated shots where you have, you know, anatomy of a superhero with like bad guys crawling over him and stuff. So a real quick solution for those of you that might not have thought of it, I'm sure most of you have, but just seeing what I did there, where I have the character drawn kind of like he's wrestling, but there's nobody around him, and then I just change all those lines to blue, make a new line art above it layer, and redraw those characters in, then go back to the blue layer and erase where that character was. That way it looks like it was all drawn at the same time. This way it makes it easier for myself anyway to go in there and do the adjustments that I need to. Now, regarding this, I don't know if I'm going to record going from the final thumbnail or the tight line, or sorry, what am I talking about here? I don't even know what stage this is. I guess this would be a tight thumbnail. Tight thumbnail to the finish. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that because it is a lot of work, and sometimes recording this stuff for so long, I feel like I have to do a little bit extra and stay around the computer a little bit more than I would normally like in a situation like this. But so here we'll see an example. We got some characters coming up from behind trying to grab this female robot kind of character. And the one thing right away was his hand looked like it might have been grabbing her butt, which, you know, it's, while I'm drawing it, it's like, oh, I hope people don't think that I'm drawing some guy trying to grab her butt. But looking at it now, it's not really a big deal. It doesn't look out of place or anything like that. And here, just more characters, just like a pile of guys just trying to wrestle down these superheroes. And then I put a couple other guys in the foreground. There's going to be a lot of soldiers in the back, and I'm just going to do some silhouettes. I'm going to cheat that a bit really, when you do these gigantic crowd scenes, the tedious part is this stuff right here. How much time do you spend on these characters that really they're not important, but they are necessary to tell the certain story that you're trying to tell. And that's up to you as the artist and the director in some regards to figure out how far you want to push that, how cool you want all the anatomy to look for all these characters, because they will have costumes on, and all that stuff. But hopefully all this stuff, and one thing you might notice too is all these guys wrestling the guy. I kind of had, if you can see right there, the hand in the top right of the superhero being wrestled in blue, it's pointing towards the girl's laser that's shooting a guy straight down. So even though he's being wrestled, there's lines all still pointing back to a prominent straight line that goes back to the focal point. And trying to always be aware of things that are happening. I don't know if in this recording I addressed it or not, but that girl shooting the laser beam into that dude's chest, I did shrink her up a bit. Because she felt like, I want to push the planes here, and she feels like she's on the same plane as the guy beneath her, the superhero being wrestled down by the guys, and I wanted to just push her into the background a bit more just to give it, a little bit extra. But that's about it for this. So, again, thanks so much for watching. Keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.